Hello, this is Keith Sheldon of Trek That from the Trekker's Delight Podcast Network. Uh, just going to be me tonight as to look back at the legacy of Jeri Taylor, co-creator of Star Trek Voyager, showrunner for the first 4 seasons of the show. She also was the showrunner for the final season of Next Generation and wrote several episodes of Star Trek, and was just a major creative force behind the scenes. She passed away this past week at age 86. And just going to look back at her legacy today. So with that, we'll go to the opening credits. So I first learned about Jeri Taylor when she was named as co-creator of Star Trek Voyager, because Next Generation, of course, was listed as created by Roddenberry and Berman. On Deep Space Nine, it was Rick Berman and Michael Piller. And then Voyager, you had Rick Berman, Michael Piller, and Jeri Taylor. Now, of course, Taylor was the showrunner for those first 4 seasons. She helped create all of the main characters, the hiring of Kate Mulgrew as Captain Janeway, and just specific details such as Janeway's hometown being in Indiana, which is the same home of Jeri Taylor. She has a rich history in entertainment going back for that. You can check out her IMDb. Her writing goes back into the late 1970s. TV miniseries California Fever, Secret Empire, Little House on the Prairie. She wrote 2 episodes in 1981, an episode of The Incredible Hulk in 1982, 15 episodes of Quincy M.E. Now, Quincy M.E. was, her work on that got the attention of certain people that connected her to Star Trek The Next Generation, where she joined as a writer for the 4th season in 1991. Did I list this right? So as you can see, starting with the first teleplay for Suddenly Human. And of course, that is episode known for, you have a human boy who's been taken in by a warlike species, and the crew of the Enterprise try to win him back to humanity. Then from there, she wrote a teleplay for Final Mission. That's the Goodbye Wesley episode. The Wounded, Night Terrors, and finally The Drumhead, which was her first full written by credit on Star Trek. Coming back in season 5, teleplay for 3 episodes, Silicon Avatar, Unification Part 1, and Violations. Then finally writing The Outcast in 1992. That being the infamous episode concerning a species where they had no specific genders and androgynous race. And as written, it was expected that it would be a bit more groundbreaking, but they chose to hire a female actor to play the role opposite Riker. And of course, Jonathan Frakes said for years afterwards that he loved this episode, but wished it had been a bit more groundbreaking. And if they would have cast a male actor, they would have done that. So then, season 7, she took over as showrunner. Sorry for clicking through this way. But yeah, season 6, she did teleplay for Times Arrow Part 2, and then the stories for Aquiel and Descent, the season finale for season 6. Season 7, she took over as showrunner. Here it's listed as a writer just the television story for Sub Rosa, the infamous Sub Rosa episode. But the way it was, the rest of the writing, I can't exactly blame her for all the other issues with that episode. Then she started writing a couple episodes for Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the season 2 premiere, The Homecoming, and then the Maquis two-parter, Part 1 and Part 2. So she wrote the introduction of the Maquis in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is rather fitting that she would then go on to be showrunner for Star Trek Voyager, where the Maquis would play such a larger part, having the not exactly half the crew, but seemingly half the crew being former Maquis. Now, we do have on IMDb, she is listed as having one upcoming credit, and that's the To the Journey, looking back at Star Trek Voyager documentary that'll be coming out next month. They released a small clip of it at New York Comic Con. We talked about it, or not New York Comic Con, actually, might have been prior to New York Comic Con. We talked about it on the Trekkers Live podcast. And they look to have that finished in November. Unfortunately, and Jeri won't be there to see the celebration of her work. Looking back at her career, the Memory Alpha page goes into great background on her work. Has some wonderful pictures from the making of All Good Things, the Next Generation series finale. Set of Voyager, as it lists here. It is a full 17 episodes TNG, and that includes the producing on season 7. And then the novelization of Unification. She features in interviews on the DVDs for TNG season 4, season 5, season 7, and then Voyager season 1. And then also did interviews for E inside Voyager, the launch of Voyager, and Star Trek Voyager Inside the New Adventure. And of course, as is common in Star Trek lore, a lot of the bigger names behind the scenes also are given roles within the Star Trek verse. So that as a producer, she's listed as a vice admiral on the dedication plaque for the USS Voyager. So that just as she is instrumental to the creation of a series, she is seen, a character with her name is instrumental in the creation of the Starship Voyager itself. Now, of course, Variety also covered. Sorry, that didn't work. I don't know why I did that right now. So here's Variety's article noting the announcement online and just various things of her background. Magnum PI. Oh yeah, she actually directed an episodes of Magnum PI, In the Heat of a Night and Jake and the Fat Man. Yes, that was a real TV show for those under age 30. Yeah. Born Jeri Cecile Sewer on June 30th, 1938 in Evansville, Indiana. For father Robert and mother Rua. Graduated from the Indiana University and then received a master's degree from California State University, Northridge. Brandon Braga, who took over as showrunner from Jeri when she stepped down after season 4, said she was a great writer and showrunner, to me a cherished mentor. Jeri was generous with her wisdom and her time. She nurtured an entire staff of young writers, which is a testament to her patience. I would not have a career without Jeri's intricate guidance. She taught us all so much. Her memory will live on in many ways, perhaps most of all in the character of Captain Janeway, who reflected the best dimensions of Jeri herself. Jeri Taylor, we were lucky to know you. Now, I first got word of Jeri's passing from Michael Okuda, posting on Twitter/X and Facebook. The world of Star Trek lost one of its giants yesterday with the passing of Jeri Taylor. Became a supervising producer on TNG's fourth season, eventually becoming co-executive producer. Of course, the Yakutas were instrumental in developing the style of 90s Trek. So going on, he writes, along with Rick Berman and Pillars, he co-created Voyager, brought humanity and compassion to her work at the Star Trek. Her scripts include The Drumhead, which remains one of Star Trek's most powerful hours. Working for Jeri Taylor was always a delight. She always welcomed ideas and suggestions, even from designers in the art department. She was thoughtful and warm, and she always made us feel like we were an important part of her team. She will be missed. Further comments on X/Twitter. Kate Mulgrew writing, Jeri Taylor was responsible in large part for changing my life. She was elegant, erudite, and fiercely opinionated. She wanted Catherine Janeway to be a significant part of her legacy. I think there's no doubt that in that endeavor she succeeded. I owe her a debt of gratitude. May she rest in peace. Robert Picardo, the Voyager's EMH. What a wonderful person to work with. Jeri Taylor was the beating heart of Star Trek Voyager's groundbreaking Captain Janeway character. I will miss her. My condolences to her family. Going on, Brian Fuller, who got his start writing on Star Trek on Voyager, went on to create Discovery, then leaving for other series, including Hannibal. Writes, "Oh, Captain, my Captain, farewell, Jeri Taylor, pioneering co-creator of Star Trek Voyager, my first showrunner boss, and the kindest." That's all he has for there. Then we have Aaron Walke, who's current writer and co-producer of Star Trek Prodigy, noting that Jeri donated her hand-noted Star Trek scripts to Indiana University, where they were free for students to study, including one ambitious young fan, me. I learned to write studying her. I wouldn't be here without her. Thank you, Jeri, for everything. Rest in peace. So, of course, that's Trekker's friend of Trekker's Delight, Aaron J. Walke, sharing his remembrances. And, of course, this wonderful picture of the Catherine Janeway Memorial in Bloomington, Indiana, which is not only Janeway's hometown, but is Jeri Taylor's hometown. Finally, I have notes from Tom Antonelli, voiceover artist. I saved this one for last because of the fact he quotes one of the best lines of dialogue she wrote, and that's from The Drumhead, Captain Picard's speech at the tribunal. "You know, there are some words I've known since I was a schoolboy. With the first link, the chain is forged, the first speech censored, the first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, chains us all irrevocably." Those words were uttered by Judge Aaron Satie as wisdom and warning. The first time any man's freedom is trodden on, we're all damaged. I fear that today. For those that are fortunate to live in the area of Indiana University, Bloomington, stop by the Lilly Library when it's open, of course, and you can now access her collections there. Items donated from 1975 to 1996. They have 12 boxes of items. Oh, I say, born in Evansville, but lived in Bloomington. Talks about her history here in the contents of her collections. Outline scripts, technical notes, cast lists, and some shooting schedules for the 7th and final season of Next Generation. Draft scripts, cast and call sheets, research notes for Voyager for first couple seasons. And of course, these items carry her annotated changes or comments. Copies of final scripts for all seasons of Next Generation have been separately cataloged and are housed in the Liddy Library printed collections. The collection also includes scripts written by Taylor for television series on which she was story editor, co-writer, or occasional producer, as listed there. And then the final subseries development consists of scripts and story ideas largely unproduced, which during what Jeri Taylor describes as development hell at Norman Lear's Embassy Productions from 1985 to to 1987. So these were gifts made over a 4-year period in the late 90s. And those items, you can even see the contents list here. Breaking down in one box, you have all the items, 26 boxes for Next Generation Season 7. So this is for every episode here. Of course, you see Sub Rosa, which she gets the television story by credit. Listed here, formerly known as Passions. Definitely, I think it's a better name. Dino Self, that's one where Data loses his memory and is stuck in a village that is medieval set. And of course, Preemptive Strike, which was the Maquis episode, formerly known as The Good Fight. So she was instrumental in the early stories of the Maquis, both at Deep Space Nine and Next Generation, before jumping over to be Voyager showrunner. So, and of course, has all the information across several boxes for all 4 seasons that she was showrunner. And of course, here it's listed as different names. You have some different names for some episodes. Intruder Alert does sound like a better name than Cathexis does. So just interesting little bit of behind the scenes look. Just getting an idea of some of the original names for some of these episodes. So all of this is available at the Lilly Library at the University of Indiana, Bloomington. You can see from access here. It is open for research. Many collections housed off-site. Retrieval requires advance notice. So if you have any interest in learning about the background of not only writing for Star Trek, but being a producer, being a showrunner, according to what I've seen in the notes and remembrances, you can't ask for a better place to stop to look. And if you having watched Star Trek Prodigies, both seasons, you definitely see Taylor's touch in those, and of course guided by Aaron Walke and the other producers, writers and producers of that show. Continuing the best parts of Voyager going forward with Prodigy. I know I've been personally willing to mention my dislike for certain parts of Voyager, but when I look back at Jeri Taylor's contributions overall, the overall story is still fantastic. The characters are definitely so, and of course, to note that Janeway is Jeri Taylor pouring her heart and soul onto the page. So pay your respects as you see fit. I feel everyone should. Watch for Drumhead from Next Generation. Watch Suddenly Human for her first contribution to Trek. And then maybe do a rewatch of Voyager and get through the first 4 seasons. And just give respect to the wonderful woman that helped make all this possible. That's all I'm going to do tonight. Please feel free to leave your comments below. I didn't want to make this too involved, too laboring or anything. I'm not going to cover any advertising tonight. Just paying respects to the wonderful work of Jeri Taylor. Thank you all for watching.